Welcome to the Songwriter Connection, the podcast that delves deep into the art and heart of songwriting. Each week, we gather around the dining room table to uncover the stories behind the songs. We invite you to join us on a journey through the creative minds of the songwriters who shape the melodies of our lives. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenahan.
Hey, I'm so glad that you joined us. We've got a very special guest to introduce you to on the phone in just a little bit. I'm Dave. I'm your host. And you know what? Thanks to you, we're closing in on 3 million downloads and streams worldwide. And I'm just over the moon about that. And I can't thank you enough. So thanks for listening and spreading the word about Songwriter Connection, the podcast. Today is the 22nd of August, and it's my birthday. Hey! And I've got a big guest for my birthday. And, you know, I was thinking about this morning. You know, when I turned 22 on my birthday, I was working for a little radio station outside of Cleveland, Ohio. And I had my first big artist interview that day on my birthday. And it was Tom T. Hall. And he invited me up on his bus, and we just had a wonderful conversation. He goes, "Oh, it's your birthday. Hey, get him a drink." And we were drinking 7 and 7s all night, and we just had a blast. And I thought, I'm going to love this country music stuff. I was a big fan of Tom T. ever since. Now, today, I've got another huge star to interview, and I'm really happy to have Henry Paul on the phone. Hi, Henry. How are you?
I'm good, Dave. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, man. Just to give folks some detail, 3 amazing bands that you've been a part of, and you are still touring. In fact, we've got you on the phone at your bus. You're up in the Dayton, Ohio area, my old stomping grounds. And so there was the band The Outlaws. In 1975, that amazing debut album came out. Still one of my favorites, Green Grass and High Tides. And there goes another love song. And then you went into the Henry Paul band with some more great success. And in my years doing country radio, I played a lot of Blackhawk music. And so it's just a pleasure to have you here and to have you on the phone. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that.
Well, you're very welcome. As a matter of fact, thanks for having me. It's great to have the opportunity to reminisce and kind of catch up and go through the years and years of committed musical service.
Yes. And in fact, 50 years, you got a new book coming out. And let's just talk about that right off the bat. The Last Outlaw, tracing the last 50 years of your amazing career, huh?
Yeah. You know, and the funny thing is, Dave, that when you go back and you document where you've been and what you've done, you know, it suddenly occurs to you that it's been a long time. And otherwise, you know, it seems like just yesterday. But when you lay it all out in the book on a grid,
yeah,
whew, God, you can get tired just thinking about it.
I bet you do. Yeah. Can you believe it's been 50 years? It's like a blink of the eye, right?
I know. And, you know, it just goes to show, you know, there's an old saying about our children, you know, the kids really grow up fast. Mm-hmm. But what happens is we're all getting old at the same rate of speed. Yeah. And it just, you know, life is short, and it is absolutely wonderful, and lucky me for having the opportunity to do what I dreamed of doing. That's how I look at it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I do the same thing. People ask me how you're doing. I go, living the dream. And my friend, you have been living the dream, and you're still living the dream, aren't you?
I am, you know, and bringing the Outlaws back to, you know, healthy as a healthy musical state, and Blackhawk is playing at a high level. Mm-hmm. Every now and then I do a Henry Paul band reunion, but it's much more rare than Blackhawk and the Outlaws play night after night for years and forever.
Yeah. You know, I know you're touring right now with both bands. Does that, I mean, what kind of logistics is involved in that, or do you play the same shows?
Well, I mean, I have one band, and they're very talented guys. And when we suit up to go do a Blackhawk show, we play it exactly how it's supposed to be played. And when we suit up to do an Outlaw show, we play it exactly how it was conceived. And that includes, you know, the last 2 studio records that I've written and recorded that, you know, according to my own perception, you know, brought the Outlaws today back into relativity from the standpoint of perspective going all the way back to the mid-'70s.
So you mix the old with the new and just put on an amazing show, people expect, right?
Yes, and now because of the first album, we're doing the first album in sequence in its entirety.
Wow.
Which is really great for stories and those old songs, many of which we never really played out on stage, are now getting a chance to be heard. And it's a very significant exercise in detail as musicians and singers, and it's very gratifying. And all the guys in the band, Monty's still alive, but he's unable to play anymore, and he lives in Nashville and he's retired. The other fellas are gone, and to be able to put their songs up there from when we were much younger has a very significant meaning and value to me as the caretaker of the brand. And I just have to say that it's, at this late date, still really, really fun and important, and I enjoy my job.
And I love the fact that you've got charities going too, and you give back. You've got one, the Outlaws Fund, and one for Van Stevenson too, don't you?
We do. We started a nonprofit in the early 2000s for Van. We lost Van to cancer in 2001, and we started to fund the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Lab, Research Lab. Excuse me. Yes. And then when I took control of the Outlaws brand again in 2008, excuse me again, we started to fund Music Cares, which is an organization that, helps financial aid to uninsured musicians' medical costs. So we found a couple really good places to put it, and we, on an annual basis, we donate $25,000 to each one, and we've been doing that for a really long time.
That's so great. That's so great. I want to tell you about the first time that I met you. I was working at Cincinnati Radio, and they sent me down to cover the CMA event, and we were in. Do you remember the old Gibson Cafe over at Opry Mills?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that place because during breaks I'd go in the back and pick up a Gibson and pick a little, waiting for the next interview to come in. And I remember you guys were getting, it was just after, it was this year that Van passed away, but you put Blackhawk back together. And I remember you entering the room, and this is what I heard.
You might be great, your less might be more. Your window to the world might be your own.
You guys were singing that in your three-part harmony, and it was just absolutely amazing. It was just so cool, man. And I had you do that live on the radio, and I wish I still had tape on that because it was just amazing.
Well, thanks. And the harmony vocals, even going back to early bluegrass days of the Latin duo and pretty harmony vocals.
We're breaking up just a little bit there.
Jim and Jesse.
There you go.
They just inspired me so much. And so all through my musical career, harmony vocals have been a hallmark of the band's personality, the Outlaws, the Henry Paul Band, and Blackhawk.
Absolutely. Those electric guitars and those great harmonies. And I've always been a fan of that. Yeah. Love harmonies. Yeah. And I had read somewhere that... a lot of the people that I get on this podcast, they'll say, well, I watched the Beatles when I was a kid and I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do. And you said, no, I they were cool, but I was more into the Flatt and Scruggs and Johnny Cash and the Ballad of Ira. What was it? Ira Hayes, was it? What's his name? Remember that song? The radio ignored it. And as a matter of fact, this is the anniversary of the day that Cash took out a big ad in Billboard magazine just chastising radio for not playing that song, the Ballad of Ira Hayes. And but you were a big fan of it, huh?
I was, and back before Johnny Cash became such a national musical institution, he was a rather dark and very self-styled sort of storyteller and musical beacon for people that weren't necessarily all that enamored by Andy Williams, or Pat Boone.
Yeah.
I really gravitated to Johnny Cash's dark side, and he was very, very prevalent in the folk music community.
And that's where it kind of started from you, wasn't it? I mean, I read that you grew up on a farm upstate New York and then went to Manhattan, and you played in all the big folk places in Greenwich Village, right?
That's right. And yes, Johnny kind of came through the back door for me with Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And I was just an enormous fan. Gordon Lightfoot was incredibly influential in my musical career, and I just absolutely loved Johnny's, quirky, as I said, dark sort of side, and I just, then there was Flat and Scruggs that were really uplifting and high energy, and I loved that, and so I just wound up gravitating towards folk music and country music. And my goal with the Outlaws was to bring country music to the rock and roll musical personality, not unlike Poco or the Flying Burrito Brothers or any of the other.
Pure Prairie League, all these. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles eventually, but I mean, it was part of my passion musically, and I really enjoyed helping to create what that was. And
I'll bet. Full of some great memories.
It was kind of like a life's work.
Yeah. And you guys broke it out. There was a Tampa Bay area where you put the band together, correct?
That's right. I mean, I had gotten some interest from Epic, and they put me in the studio to cut demos. And I had put a band together in New York, a really, really good band. And I decided I was going to move back to Florida with the band. And I had a good friend that wanted to manage me, and he had, a plan and was very enthusiastic. So I moved back to Tampa with the band, and it eventually, evolved into the Outlaws.
Mm-hmm. You had a few iterations before that, right? I remember names like, was Sienna?
Sienna, yeah.
Sienna. And was it, for a little while, wasn't it even the 4-letter words?
Well, that was a band called the Outlaws long before my involvement. That was kind of a teenage cover dance band.
Oh, wow.
And then what happened was, as members of the band would leave, there was one fellow that got homesick and left, and Monty Yoho was playing drums in the band, and then Monty knew Frank O'Keefe, so we brought Frank in, and then Jim Fish left the band, and we brought Huey Thomason in.
There you go.
And we played 4-piece.
The Flame, right? Didn't they call him the Flame, Huey?
I did. I nicknamed him the Flame. Yeah. And that's a story in and of itself. But we had a 4-piece band called Sienna, and we decided one day, I think it was Monty said, well, when we were kids, we used to be in a band called the Outlaws, and if we wanted to change the name to that, might help us get a little bit more work. What? And I loved the name. I said, well, let's do that. Let's just change the name of the band to the Outlaws, and we did. And
there you go.
And we got a little bit more traction, and then Billy Jones came back from Colorado and joined the band, and it kind of really
started
put
cooking
the missing parts and pieces together.
And along come Clive Davis, right, and says, I'm going to sign you guys to a record deal.
Oh, yes. It was a typical kind of struggle, too, working in clubs. And
oh, yeah. It's not easy, is it?
At one point on our first road trip, we were playing in Nashville at a music club called Mother's Music Emporium 2 nights with Leonard Skinner, this would be the the spring of 1974.
Wow.
So they were just out with their first record, and we did 2 nights with them, and Ronnie, the singer, he wound up calling his manager and saying, wow, this band up here called the Outlaws trying to kick our ass, and they've got this great song called Green Grass and High Tides. he said, and it's like a free bird. And so when we got Alan involved with the band, he and our then manager, Charlie Brusco, formed a partnership. And that phone call from Ronnie, changed our life. And once we got with somebody that had significant influence and the ability to get people's attention, we wound up cutting demos and getting that deal with Live and Era stuff.
Any place you only dream of, where your soul is always free. Silver stages, golden curtains filled by it played as could be. As they rain.
Can you talk a little bit of how, that's a life-changing moment, and how you felt and what that did for you personally? A lot of validation.
Well, it was a life-changing moment, especially coming off of the disappointment of my first go-round with Epic. But you're working so hard and you're so far away and so long away from home that your life is almost attritional and just in survival mode. Mm-hmm. And when the opportunity that you work so hard for comes along, like you've probably heard a lot of times, it doesn't really resemble what you perceived it would be. But we knew once Clive came into our dressing room and told us he was going to sign us to his new label that our life changed forever right then and there. Mm-hmm. It was enormous. It was an absolute kind of a celebratory success of life-changing proportion, and it was just wonderful.
I'll bet. And of course, as soon as the record's in the can, the job isn't over. You're on the road supporting, and that must have been a trip, huh?
Oh, it was. And the Outlaws were very much a live entity musically. They weren't just a studio band. We made our name for ourselves.
You bet.
Stealing the show from the headliners. And
did you ever get any flack for that? Did you from the headliners?
Well, yeah. I mean, every time you went out there, that was your goal, was to steal the show, and
yeah,
we were pretty good at it.
Yeah,
but it kept us from home, and I'm not exaggerating when I say early on we were gone for 250, 300 days a year, and you can imagine what a toll that took on our.
I can't imagine living out of a bus for most of the year. I just can't imagine how tough that is. Yeah.
It was tough. I mean, and it's the undoing in many cases for people in my position.
I'll bet. Yeah. It's hard to eat right. It's hard to sleep right. It's not easy, is it?
No, and when you are enjoying significant success and you're on the radio and you're on TV and you're everywhere there's a lot of push and pull and, a lot of private planes and Learjets and tour buses, and it's just a crazy, crazy thing.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I want to talk about that first album in 1975. That's year I graduated high school, so I remember this record coming out and listening to it from There Goes Another Love Song all the way to Green Grass and High Tides. Great album, every bit. And I wanted to focus, since this is a songwriting podcast, on writing the songs that you've written on that album. And one of my favorite was Knoxville Girl, and I know that got a lot of attention in play when you guys were playing live around Tampa when you're a regional act.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that song, the writing of that song, and then we'll play it, okay?
Well, yes, and first of all, my treatment of the song was in a bluegrass form of fashion. And bluegrass music has so much life. It's a really energetic and uplifting sort of moment in our show, which we utilized to our advantage. Mm-hmm. But the song was originally this really dark, lyrically, ballad that I took, and I learned it from a duet called Baldwin and Letts that was played on the streets in New York. And I took the song and I rewrote it and recreated it in my own form and fashion. Mm-hmm. And I wrote these verses, and it was always back then, often, I shouldn't say always, but oftentimes about separation from our loved ones.
Yeah.
And it was just a great part of that album. It really helped establish the Outlaws' musical personality as a country rock band.
Mm-hmm.
And Huey was so adept at assimilating that personality, and he and I had a great deal in common with regard to what that was. And I think it's safe to say it wound up becoming more the center of the band's musical personality, and it definitely set us apart from the other local bands in Tampa that were, covering Aerosmith and more invested in the landscape of popular music, where we were writing our own songs and putting ourselves out there as something more original.
There you go. And it's so important today, I think, as a songwriter, and also for artists that are coming up, is to be your own. Be you, and be that original, like you're saying, huh?
Yeah. Without that, you have no chance of having a career on your own. I mean,
you're just another guy. Just another band, right?
Yeah, you're just another club band.
Yeah.
And some of the club bands that we were going up against, competing with in the local area, they were having more success than we were financially. They were getting more money, and they were playing the top 40 set, playlist. And I think as far as we would go would be, I know we played Badge by Eric Clapton and George Harrison.
There you go.
We played Blue Skies by Dickie Betts.
Yeah.
We played 4 Days Gone by the Buffalo Springfield.
Yeah.
Our willingness to commercialize ourselves was very measured and always consistent with our own musical personality.
And that was kind of the thing back then. I mean, do you commercialize, or do you stay true to who you are, or is there somewhere in between? That was often a very thoughtful thing, huh, to consider.
Well, yeah, you had to be careful not to water down the whiskey by trying to be,
good point,
too much.
Yeah.
And then there were parts to the musical that we had nothing in common with, and I'm thinking more or less like Ziggy Stardust and all the British glam rock. I mean, that was almost like a 180 degree move away from what we were. And so we had our own thing, and it served us well when it came time to be recognized and signed to a major label.
That's great. Yep. Well, listen, I'm going to play Knoxville Girl right now. I love how it starts soft, and then you guys put that grease in the fire, and boom, and you take it off. And so let's listen to the whole thing, and we'll be back around the Songwriter Connection.
Fog goes in the morning, I can hardly find my way home to where the heart is. The words can't begin to say enough about the gentle way you always take me in. The long and narrow one-way road's got to take me home again. Go down in Knoxville Grove with that dark and grove, and go down in Knoxville Grove, 'cause I know you'll never be my bride. I met a little girl in Knoxville town, I wanna well, feeling good like I should, and to her love I fell. Night was long, she lay there by my side, held me closer than her arms and kept me satisfied. Go down in Knoxville Grove with that dark and grove, and go down in Knoxville Grove, 'cause I know you'll never be my bride. make difference. Love a bed, it'll get exactly what it lends. The time has come to steal my love from me. In this pain I will remain and sing this misery. Go down, Knoxville girl, with that dark and broken eye. Go down, Knoxville girl, 'cause I know not my pride.
Back with Henry Paul on the Songwriter Connection Podcast. And a quick reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, I know we're not a video podcast as of yet. We may get there someday. But I hope you hit the like and subscribe anyway, because that helps us more than you'll ever know. And don't forget about our playlist on Spotify, Songwriter Connection, the songs. Click on that. You can hear songs every Wednesday when we publish. You know, I throw a couple songs from our guests, and we will do the same with the Outlaws and Blackhawk and the Henry Paul Band today. Henry, thanks for joining us again. It's so good to be with you. Let's move on to the next aspect of your career, the Henry Paul Band. Tell us how that came about, and we'll talk about a song and play that. So the Henry Paul Band, how'd that do?
Well, I left the Outlaws in August of 1977, and I threw myself into the business of reinventing myself musically. I called up one of my old friends from Siena, Jim Fish, and he moved to Florida to play with me. I called up Billy Crane, a guitar player from Nashville that I had met through his brother Tommy, and then I called Wally Dents to play bass. Wally was in a local band and a good friend and a great musician, and Bill Hoffman was our drummer, and I had met Bill when we would play over in Cocoa Beach.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of the Space Coast Cowboys and some people from Nashville and one from New York State. And then the last guy to join the band was Barry Rapp, who I met through my friend Rick Alter, who was an agent that helped book the band. And Barry was a keyboard player, singer, songwriter from Macon. So I had a 6-piece group, 2 lead guitars,
wow,
bass, drums, and keyboards, and myself. And we went about the business of rehearsing and writing songs. And some of the guys had songs that they had written that they brought to the mix. And we went in the studio and demoed these songs. I had gotten a budget from Atlantic Records to go into the recording studio. We had played a number of shows and got tight and went in the studio, and we cut 6 or 7 sides and submitted them to the label, and we were signed. I was signed to Atlantic Records, and I hired my old friend from Nashville, who his name was Joe Sullivan. He managed Charlie Daniels, the Charlie Daniels band, and he and I had become good friends, and he wanted to get involved in my career, and I signed with him as my personal. So immediately after leaving the band, I kind of threw myself into putting something new together and writing a body of work and getting back into the studio. We wound up going down to Miami to Criteria to cut our first album.
Wow.
And Ron and Howard Albert were hired as our producer, and they had so much success with Stephen Stills and just Firefall. They were just really, really successful producers, and we got lucky with our engineer, Don Gaiman, wound up engineering that first album, and he went on to produce all those great John Mellencamp records. So we just had this incredible support staff in our producers and engineers. And Grey Ghost, the album, was really well written and well recorded.
Definitely.
And time has been very kind to it.
Yes, absolutely. That song is amazing. Grey Ghost. Let's talk a little bit about that. You wrote that, right? That was your song.
I did. Barry Rapp and I wrote that. And the irony is I had become friends with Ronnie Van Zant. He and I had toured a lot together, and we were the frontmen in each of our respective groups, and very competitive. And I never lost sight of what he did for us early on. I was always very appreciative of that. And we played so many dates with him. And Barry grew up in Joplin, Missouri, and played with Steve Gaines.
Oh, really? From Skinner?
In a local band out in Miami, Oklahoma. So when we sat down to write that song, I had come up with the title, and I had borrowed that title from a nickname of a Southern Confederate cavalry officer, John Mosby. His nickname was the Grey Ghost.
Yep.
And I thought the metaphor between a Southern cavalry, dashing cavalry officer of significant success was a great personality to compare to that of Ronnie Van Zant and his role in Leonard Skinner. So,
wow. Yeah.
We sat down and we wrote that song. It's a really well-written song, and I think the second verse really, has a great deal of meaning to me because it acknowledges the fact that the fast life and the music is just a grim disguise for the heartache and the fear of growing old. Without the ones that mean the most, it makes you realize that you're the one that's left out in the cold. And it's just that your career takes you so far away from your family and loved ones.
Yeah. And
you come home and it's a completely different landscape, and it just made it really hard to succeed at some of those relationships.
What I love about this show is I can play the whole song, and that's what I'm going to do. The Grey Ghost. And by the way, I used to work at Ryman Auditorium, and then we always talked about the Grey Ghost that would appear, because his place is on it. The Grey Ghost used to appear in the balcony sometimes at night. I never saw him, but they always talked about it. So,
well, and it was a show closer for us, too, like Greengrass was for the Outlaws.
Oh, yeah. So here it is right now. Henry Paul Band on the Songwriter Connection Podcast.
Through the tall and lonely pines, and the hour of fate is drawn
back on the Songwriter Connection with Henry Paul. Thank you again, Henry. Boy, we're just tracing the whole career. You've got this new book coming out, and it's out next week, The Last Outlaw. What can we expect on that book? You got some seriously cool stories, I'll bet.
Well, yes, and it's a very accurate and honest recollection of the story about how the Outlaws became known, and the Henry Paul Band, and of course Blackhawk. And it touches on the personalities involved. It's not a finger pointer or a critical take on things. It's rather factual. My memory is such that I remember everything in very unique detail, and so I just kind of told the story of my life and the bands that I was involved in, and it's very well written, and it's a significant testimony to my life's work.
I love books like this because I can get to live that rock star life vicariously through the book. So I cannot wait to read it. Also, the foreword by Billy Bob Thornton, huh? Yes.
Billy's a friend and a fan, and very gracious to do that for me.
Nice.
The Blackhawk segment of my career was a late in life gift of sorts, because I had left the Outlaws. I think New Year's Eve of 1988 was my last show. I'd come back to the Outlaws in '83 and played 6 years and cut a record for Columbia, Pasha Columbia, and we had just a great time. But I had ambition to move into country music, so I left the Outlaws and I started to commute back and forth from Tampa to Nashville, and I'd go up and write songs, and I'd come home and I'd demo them in my home studio, and I did that for a year and a half or more, 2 years, and my manager that lived in Nashville, Rick Alter, played it for Tim Dubois, who had opened a new Arista Nashville label.
Yep.
And Tim loved what I was doing, and he wound up signing me and Dave and band to his label, and we went in the studio and cut that first album, and it went out there and just killed. And so I was 43 when I signed with Arista the second time, and I don't think that would happen again today. I think, and I was a very young version of my age.
I think it should, but you're right.
Yeah.
Well,
but I was a really young version of my age.
You were.
But I was still, a slinky little rock star, and just, having a great time, and Nashville embraced me, and I was just, having a time of it, and the songs I was writing were great, and I learned how to be a better singer by spending so much time in the studio. And I don't know, it was just a magic moment for me to get that kind of success that late in my career.
Yeah. And what I loved is you kept that harmony thing going. And so it was Dave and it was Van. How did you guys all get together and start to play?
Well, and I had written with Van. He was one of my co-writers on some songs, and I met Dave through Van. And they had aspirations of starting a group that just coincided with Tim Dubois, who's the head of Arista, his commitment to me. And he said, well, why don't you and Dave and Hank, he said, Van, why don't you and Dave go write and sing with Hank, see what comes of it? And we went, and we knew it was an opportunity, so we worked hard at it, and we wrote great songs and cut great demos, and got signed to Arista in '92.
And you only sold about 7 million albums, right? And still going, right?
Yeah, I mean, the band went nuts, and we had success,
and
commercial success.
And during what was really a hot era for country music, and perhaps hotter than ever,
Yes.
So, and you guys are right up there. Let me. So, one of my favorites was one that you wrote, and I want to talk about the writing since it's a Songwriter Podcast. Every once in a while, beautiful harmonies, beautiful song. Can you remember anything about the writing of that?
Yeah, well, I brought this idea to the band, and it reflected my recollections of my high school girlfriend. Mm. And, that's a fertile subject to
write about, yeah.
To write, to be inspired by. And so Van and Dave and I sat down and we wrote that song, and we knew it has a little bit of Tom Petty on it, a little, jangly country rock, folk rock thing. And it has a really, I think, sweet message of the girl who never really let go of the boy she married or loved in high school. And they kind of rediscover their relationship through, this recollection of what it was. And it was very fulfilling to me because it just, mirrored, not just mine, but many people's experiences with early versions of love stories. And, of course, we move on from those and find our own way and have our own lives and people that we're committed to. But, I mean, you never really forget the first time around, and it was really wonderful.
Yep, it's a great source for songs, guys, let me tell you, and ladies who write songs. Before I play this song, I'm going to let you go. Henry, I want to thank you again for your time. Anything you want to talk about? What's coming in the future? I know you guys are traveling right now. Are you making new records? I read something about a TV show.
Yeah, well, I have a TV show pilot that I'm shopping, and I'm also halfway through a solo record. The book is coming out early September. I have a children's book that's coming out.
That's great.
Immediately following this autobiography, and we have a tour schedule. I'm doing this Leonard Skinner tour. The Outlaws are doing the Skinner tour in Canada.
Wow!
For 3 weeks in September, and the Outlaws have also been out with Kansas and 38 Special in the States, and it's been doing really well.
What a great show that is! Wow!
And Blackhawk's on fire. I mean, Blackhawk's out there killing it.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah. So congratulations on all that. Keep living the dream. I want to invite people to go to your web page, which is henrypaul.com, right?
Yes, sir.
More information there, including all the tour dates and some great pictures and things, so check it out. Thank you for taking the time. Folks, read the book. Henry, thank you. You have a great one, okay? Appreciate you.
You bet, Dave.
All
Thanks
right.
for your time.
When the moon is bright on a Saturday night, there's 1,000 stars in the sky. On a winding road, her memory flows. She'll face the fact she wants to go back. She opens her heart to an old memory. She closes her eyes and she smiles. Just ask her if she ever still thinks about me. She said, every once in a while. Every once in a while. She tries to forget, but she hasn't yet. Not a single day goes by. That feeling again reminds her of when I held her tight. It felt so right. She opens her heart to an old memory. She closes her eyes and she smiles. Just ask her if she ever still thinks about me. She said, every once in a while. Every once in a while. And every once in a while.
We hope you enjoyed this intimate glimpse into the world of songwriting and found inspiration in the stories shared by our talented guests. Remember, the magic of music lies not only in the notes and chords, but in the emotions and experiences woven into every lyric. Until next time, keep listening, keep creating, and keep the melodies alive.